Good morning and welcome to our Mosaic Live. Want to say happy Valentine's Day or Singles Awareness Day, whatever you like to celebrate on this fabulous February 14th. We are so excited to join with you today and introduce Kim. I'm going to let her introduce herself in a second, but I know I put this out on my LinkedIn as well. But Kim is an absolute amazing rock star in HR. She's a thought leader. She's a change management guru. So when this topic came up, based off of her prior experience, even before Mosaic and the work she's been doing here at Mosaic, this is the person I was so excited to have this conversation with. So welcome today. We are so happy that you're joining us, whether it's breakfast or lunch or late afternoon snack, whatever time zone you're on. We are excited for you to join us and get kicked off here with Kim. So Kim, would you mind introducing yourself, telling a little bit about your background for the team?
Absolutely. Hi, Kim Patterson, and I'm out of Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm currently the Director of Strategic Services for Mosaic. And prior to this, my experience has been, as Krystyn said, in the HR world. I was at the executive level in human resources and also in learning and development, and primarily in the retail and hospitality sectors. But I did have my own business too, and worked with a lot of different types of businesses and industries, and did a lot of work around, as you mentioned, change, organizational change, culture, leadership development, and that kind of thing. So happy to be here. And now my work as the Director of Strategic Services with Mosaic is a lot of the same, working with human resources teams and executive teams and working with them together to try to achieve alignment around major initiatives. What are the success criteria that they need to make sure are front and center in these big implementations and launches and things that we are walking alongside of clients with in our business. So
I love it. Well, again, I'm so excited to have this conversation with you today because this is a work of art, I know, for you, and something you have been doing for quite some time. And you've seen things, you have great stories. And so hopefully today, the purpose of this for the audience is really to shed light on how we can continue to align HR leaders to that C-suite. So just based off of that, the alignment that you have focused on is clearly for a reason. You must have experienced a project when an HR leader was disconnected from that C-suite. Can you tell us more about that experience?
yeah, unfortunately, I've seen that too many times. Examples of that. Well, first of all, I guess just to back up on that, it's such an opportunity when you are a leader in HR to be a strategic business partner with operations of the business, with leadership, with that C-suite. And so when you're intentional about that, you can really, really align well with them. But yeah, unfortunately, I've seen it not go well. I've seen times, an example I can think of, an HR leader who came to the table with a really awesome leadership development program, had spent a good bit of time really thinking through the design of this and how this would roll out and that kind of thing, presented that to the C-suite. And the big initiatives for that year were really more around team level, hospitality, around doing that development of the customer experience and that kind of thing. And so it just seemed like a miss. It felt like that HR leader was maybe out of touch with operators and with operations and also with the initiatives of the business all at the same time. So kind of tough as an operator to feel like you can get behind something and own it, even if it's a good idea, if it's not really what the organization is mandating or asking you to do. So,
This is one of my favorite topics too, when it talks about how do you bring really the operations of the team together with HR. And many opportunities that I've had to be able to, whether it's work with clients or to speak to a wide range of companies and industries, it's usually the number one question that I get from HR is, well, how did you learn this? Who is the best person to unite with? And of course, start with finance, right? All the time. You got to understand how money moves through the organization, but you have to support operations and understand how physically how does the business operate. The more that you know about the business as an HR leader, the better that you can be equipped to support them. So my next question for you, because it relates back to that project team, right, is how does ownership translate to the project team? How do you see that work?
Yeah, I think they need to connect to the business as well. I think that's really important. Not only do we need to see that at the HR leader level, but we need to see that at the project team level as well. And surprising to me, I have worked with teams along the way who, through the strategic work that we're doing with them, they kind of realize, you know what, maybe we don't know our internal customer as well as we should.
Mm.
And I've seen great example in the recent past of an HR leader who their team, they realized that and they decided, let's get out there. Let's go do some, time, spend some time, some town halls, some things like that, where we get to know the team members. In this case, it was a manufacturing company, so it was in the plants. So they spent time there and they met people and they really, really strengthened that connection and also their understanding of the business at the same time. So it's really, really helped from a standpoint of alignment, getting them together on the same page.
So alignment is one of my favorite areas to really dig into, especially in leadership development. And so I have an entire lesson designated to this topic within our leadership development here at Mosaic, where we really understand the difference between agreement and alignment. And don't mistaken those two things to be the same. And so alignment is this word or this ideal state where we think we know what that is, right? And so you're working with clients to really help them understand, do you actually have alignment? So can you tell me, how do you know when you have alignment? What does
Yeah.
that look like?
Yeah. And I love what you just said, because I think about that too a lot of times. Like you can not agree on something initially and you can still come together with open communication, with really hearing each other, asking the right questions. So what does success look like to you? Why now? Like really kind of getting down to the crux of what it is that is important to that person or people or team that you're trying to align with. In this case, maybe it's even leadership and C-suite that you're trying to align with. So really important to ask the right questions, really hear that, and then dig in to figure out, hey, we don't have to agree initially, but can we come together and find a way then to align and to then commit and move forward from there.
That's exactly the word I was looking for, is commitment. And one of my favorite books and models for team cohesion is Patrick Lencioni's model around five dysfunctions of a team,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And a big piece of that, of course, bottom layer is trust. And then you got to be able to have a certain level of conflict to get to be able to have commitment. And so, just for the audience, one of those big lessons learned is just because you think somebody agrees with you doesn't actually mean that you're fully aligned, right? And so you have to dig into the hows, the whats, the who's to make sure that you're both truly aligned, so that you know when you walk out that door, you are both beating to the same drum, committed to the same thing, and realistically, you're going to get better results because of that. So, Kim, what impact does that alignment have on people, on our people as leaders? I think that's the important part to understand, like the true value of alignment. So, what's that impact?
Yeah. Yeah. It can have such a huge impact in a positive way when you are aligned. So I like to think about the wheels on a car when I think about alignment, right? So if your wheels are not aligned, then you literally can be steering in a certain direction and maybe not going in that direction. And it's the same sort of idea with people, is how frustrating can it be as a team to really have the best of intentions? And I believe people have the best of intentions. We don't wake up saying, I want to go in and do something that's completely opposite of what leadership wants me to do today. Yeah, our intentions are good, but it's our actions that really have to match up to that. So, when I come in and I am seeking alignment, I need to consider that side of things. Like, what can I really do, and how can I align? And again, I go back to that whole idea of being a strategic business partner. When we are not, it can be very frustrating. And in fact, there's some studies by our partners. Lattice is a partner of ours that has put out some really good statistics lately around how that HR team feels when they're not aligned with C-suite. And So example there, 59% say that they feel frustration and stress in their job when they are misaligned. Over 50% will also say, I worry about my job and whether I'm actually going to continue to have a place at the table if I have that misalignment. And so we can feel this very viscerally when we are stressed and know that we're not aligned.
Yes, and even when we're stressed, the difference in what happens in the chemistry in your brain, like it usually sends you into this kind of critter state, and you may do things that you just don't even expect yourself to do, right? Your reactions are different. And so again, that alignment, having that conflict right off the bat, and conflict to me is not always bad, right? That's how you actually get to that level of commitment. So
Yeah.
it does have such an impact. I will tell you from my own experience of being on executive teams as well, I can actually see and feel the impact to the rest of the company if an executive team is not actually aligned, right? Having mixed messages, or the way we're going to execute, over here in this side of operations is going to be this way. Thought we had alignment across the organization, right? But then here's another leader kind of beating to their own beat of their own drum. And so what that physically does to the people, it causes confusion. It causes distrust, right? It causes this feeling of which way is right, which way is wrong, right?
Yeah.
And what we know, right, from running teams and organizations, is especially at organizations where your people are your focus, and knowing your people are the ones supporting your clients.
Right.
You want to have that cohesive and alignment. I love that. Our comment section, by the way, does work. John Soto, hi, right back. I'm loving it. And if anybody has any questions, again, I got an expert on the phone here. If you have any questions as we're going through this, please jump into the comment section and ask. We'll do our best to answer that. Along with, if you have an answer to this next question, I would love to hear it as well. So what advice would you give HR teams to better align to C-suite? So again, if you're listening, you have an idea, please share, because community effort. But Kim, you get to be the first one up.
Yeah. So
would you give?
as a team, I think just being thoughtful and appreciative about the time that that you're asking for, and when you're meeting with someone at that level, and thinking through preparing an agenda, preparing that leader for what it is that you want to speak about, maybe pre-reads if you have pre-reads, talking points, questions that you're going to have, and allow that person a little bit of time to think that through, so that that interaction can be really powerful for both of you and valuable for both of you or all of you. So I'd say just thinking through, how can I make sure that I show that that time is appreciated and valued?
I love that. And so one last question, and that's talking about the overall HR team, which many of you may be, sitting on that HR team trying to figure out, okay, how do I best align right to C-suite? Specific to HR leaders, because again, I'm going to go back to past presentations, conversations, and we typically will see and hear that exact question of, I'm trying to get that seat at the table, or I'm trying to work with our senior leaders in regards to how to advance employee engagement, right? How to be able to advance our performance management strategy so that it best supports the organization, right? How do I, as an HR leader, really get alignment with other C-suite, whether you're in that C-suite or not, right? How do you get that alignment? And I love it. We just had somebody from LinkedIn be able to share their advice around active listening. That goes back to our HR team. So taking that active listening, which is different, right? There's 5 levels of listening. So that's getting to that, trying to understand the intent of the message that's being sent to you. So yes, completely agree and love that. Thank you for sharing. Active listening for HR teams is extremely important to get to that alignment stage.
Yeah.
Or any users out there or listeners, what advice would you give to that HR leader, whether it's that we're talking about that head of HR, to better align with C-suite?
Yeah. So I love the active listening, by the way, too, because I think one of the hardest things to do when you're in a conversation is to stay present and to be there so that you don't miss anything that's right in front of you. Because a lot of times, I just talked about preparation, right? We may be so prepared that we come in and we forget to be right there and be ourselves and be a part of that conversation and be responsive to what we're hearing as well. So I think that's a really big piece. Another piece of it that I think I'd say is not unlike what I said about the team, also coming in prepared, able to speak the language. So you mentioned partnering up with finance, for example, and operations. So what is important? What do I need to provide that will speak value as a strategic business partner to these teams that are literally at the table with me? So making sure that I have statistics, making sure that I can speak to ROI, maybe having an ROI that matters to finance, one that matters to a talent acquisition, one that matters to operations, knowing what matters and being able to speak to how the initiatives that we are proponents of are going to help with that. And then behind that, there's also some really good stats. Again, Lattice has put this out where, speak to the ROI and the numbers piece of it, but also speak to the human piece. So be able to tell the human stories that really then back up what's in it for this team or that team or us as a leadership team to really think about and consider an initiative or a project or something like that.
I love that. And somebody on LinkedIn has also added, just within active listening, that it's beneficial to actually listen and to determine, excuse me, what's motivating your C-suite. And I think that is a fabulous point, and especially too, like every year, and I know most organizations go through this, right? You've got your core values, you have your purpose, you have your, why do we do what we do? Every year you have an opportunity to go and evaluate where are we going and how are we going to do it. And so each year, some companies, it's even each quarter, right? That message may change in regards to where are we going and how are we going to get there, right? Your BHAG is still there. Your overall mission and values are still there. But that really can change from quarter to quarter, year to year. So what is that company focus? What's the why behind that company focus, and understanding what's motivating them to push the team forward. So thank you. It just says LinkedIn user, so I can't see who you are, but thank you for sharing that perspective. Very much agree. And it's our job in HR to really come alongside, right, of that C-suite. Again, I hope that many of your companies actually has HR at that table, but it's our job to be able to best support that with our people in mind, right, and continue to build out that talent strategy. I love it. Kim, any final words for our listeners before we start to close out?
Yeah, I think just final thing, from what you just said, it made me think about it, is that whole idea of being a partner and being at the table with the other leaders in the organization. HR has traditionally been the one that sort of has their hand under the table. We're asking for money. I think if we, and we're feeling like we're having to really make a case for why we should be considered in situations like that from a financial respect or an initiative respect. And I think if we are really strategic and we are really listening, as we've said, to what it is that are the needs of the business, then we don't have to have our hands under the table. We can have our hands out and we can be a part of that partnership. So I think that's really a strong position to be in. And it comes from thinking through, as we've talked about, thinking through how to be a strategic partner with the others in the organization. You really have an opportunity to influence all other leadership teams in an organization when you're in HR. So
I love it. Well, thank you so much for sharing with everybody your past experience and your perspective. For all of you that are watching, this is something we get to do every day, and it is so fun. So not only do we help HR and payroll and scheduling professionals, right, with the physical technology, we also like to take it and really open up that door and say, what's the purpose? How do you unite to the business? We get to work with HR and payroll people all day. How awesome is that? Okay, so that gets us fueled and going, which is wonderful. If you have any questions after this, or if you just want to touch base and say, this is a challenge I'm having and help me think through it, that's what we're here to do, is to help think outside the box, think outside of your industry, but really focus in on your talent strategy. So thank you for your time today. Feel free to reach out, whether it's through LinkedIn or through our website. We'd be happy to get in touch with you. We hope you have a fabulous day. And again, happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you.
Thank you.